Awesome. Thanks for that speech. Those two tools in particular that you gave, the rational decision making and then the other one, which is
The OODA model.
the Hura model. And they're the exact reason why I wanted you to come and give a speech, because I know you have a bunch of processes that you've kind of harnessed over the years that are very good at that kind of stuff. And in general, it's good, I think, people to hear your story and sort of hear kind of the things that you've done, because they're really fascinating. We've had a lot of conversations about this. Um, I wanted to ask you something, and I forget. Anybody have any questions? What's your business here?
Well, currently I'm a consultant primarily, but I'm also an entrepreneur. So I'm constantly looking at potential ideas and kind of gauging them. I've got some great ideas, and I don't want to put them on tape here, but but we've got a lot of neat things. I think there's, I think Mexico and Acapulco is a huge opportunity, and I think there's some great things that can be done here. That was my best Trump uh, impression.
It's gonna be
but
great. Everything's gonna be great.
but I think Mexico has a lot of opportunities because the people have a great work ethic. The Mexicans, have a deep-rooted idea of family. They kind of rely on each other to get things done. Those are all things that I think are super positive. In addition to the fact that they don't really believe in the authority of the government, which is another thing that they just do stuff on their own. They don't give a shit what the government says, which is also awesome. But with those things, just as a combination with someone that has an opportunity, and essentially us as expats here in Mexico, they look at us like we know something, whether we do or not. They basically give us the opportunity to show them, And so if we have an idea and we can basically get people to rally around it, they'll be happy to carry it along, which is also a great opportunity. So
Yeah, and I want to point out that you essentially provided a definition for how to gain confidence, how to have confidence, and this ties back to what Sasha was talking about last meetup, which is you have something to offer, you have a passion, you have a vision, and then you added, what you can bring, what you're good at, and then you find people that want what you're good at, right? Once you have those two, you have confidence. And that's a really solid definition of confidence, rather than the kind of like woo-woo sort of like, oh, you just have to sort of pretend to be confident and you'll be confident, right? There's a much more solid sort of ground for that. And then as far as the rational decision making, I mean, it would be great maybe if at some point we had like one little sort of workshop or something where we sit down and maybe role play or try to really wrap our head around that, because that the way you described that make a lot of sense to me, but it's somewhat complex, right? But very interesting.
Well, yeah, the main thing is like when you're under the circumstance of being tested, you think you've got the right solution to something. You go out there, you take action, and bam, you get hit in the face, and you think, oh damn, I made a big mistake. But having the ability to have a process where you essentially say, well, I just continue the process. Feedback. I'm giving myself feedback. I screwed up. What did I screw up on? These are the things that you've got to do. But this is what alleviates the problem of, getting hit in the face with a major mistake or a major foul up, that most people might just like shut down because, and entrepreneurship there's a lot of failures. That's just the way it is. But if you realize that it's just a process, that you fail, you figure out what you did wrong, you start again with that new information in mind. Now you're even closer to getting a successful conclusion.
Yeah. You also know a lot about cash flow. and sort of how to move money in certain ways, or at least you've mentioned it a few times, and it really kind of stuck with me, about the ways in which you can move money in the optimal way for business and stuff. Do you have any sort of quick thoughts on that, or anything that you want to mention about that might be useful to people?
Well, certainly cash flow is important. The less investment you have to the point that you get money rolling back in, obviously is the best circumstance. So I certainly feel like low capital type investment type opportunities are the things that would probably appeal to most people here. And for myself, I think that would be the way that I would go these days. I wouldn't try and do something that's high capital intensive, like building a factory or something like that to get to the first product. You're talking about millions of dollars of investment before you can actually sell anything. I did a lot of construction. I did multifamily development, and essentially, we'd be building like 10 buildings, usually like 16 unit buildings, 10 of them, 160 unit project. The idea would be to get that first building up as quickly as possible so that you could start renting it. But you'd actually have to have all those things, all the things that they need to live in that place, so that you'd have to have the roads to that building done. You'd have to have the sidewalks done. You'd have to have all the utilities and all the amenities in place. But beyond that, you can rent that one. And the faster you can get that one started, the quicker that cash flow starts to develop in the project, and the more likely it is it's going to be a success. Like I was mentioning, the one that was a 24-month project, typically they would be, their cash flow, or starting of their cash flow on that project would be somewhere in the 18-month area. So they would basically be out of money for 18 months before some money would start returning. Me, I think my first building was like 3 months, and I was already starting to rent up the buildings and starting to get some cash flow going for that project. Believe me, someone that's in that circumstance, especially an investor that sees that you can potentially take something that they thought they were going to have to wait 18 months before they started seeing some cash come in, to something that's 3 months, man, they just love you, and once you do it once, you're like a magician to them.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions, any thoughts? I've got a thought. All right.
I just want to talk about the word confidence, because I notice that a lot of our words have gotten emotionalized, right? So we think that confidence is an emotion, and there's a way that this imperial system that we're in has distorted language. And if we go back to the sense of words, we find secrets, like to confidence, and it's right there in the word. And con means together with, and fide means trust, right? So how do we develop confidence? We become trustworthy for and together with other people, which means we become interested in people. And it's like you're saying, right?
Yeah.
As soon as they see that I can deliver what would normally be an 18-month delay on cash return within 3 months, then I am trustworthy for these people, right? And it's right there in the word.
Yeah.
And economics, like we're talking about economics. Economics is spirituality. The word, oikos, means dwelling place, right? So it's something you spoke to in terms of like the opportunities here in Mexico. Like there's family. There are these people that have their dwellings together, and they are trustworthy to each other. And there's, they can trust each other, and they can't trust their government.
Right.
And nomos is the relationships, the proportions, the transit, right? So economics is just the relationships between households. And when we set up our household to where we become a source of trust together with other households, we've got economic activity. It's just that simple. And I think in the American approach to things, because we come from a hyper fractured society, where we have these immigrant groups that came over mostly 100 to 150 years ago, and then everything that was done in the United States, the entirety of U.S. history is how to break up relationships. That's our model. So we very much have this sort of baseball model of economics, which is you're up to bat, baby, and it's you against the whole opposing team. And I think there's other models, and there are ways that we could interface with Mexico, which has other models, where we bring that union of, right, maybe a little bit more punch, a little bit more daring from the American, a little bit more like, yeah, I'm going to risk something that maybe not everybody understands, but also more the relational model, right, where we start realizing we're not really alone, except if we don't really connect with the economy that's here locally.
Right.
Because it's like you're saying, the ideal model is, well, you don't put a lot of money up front. Well, when you realize that just the relationship building gives you access to, I don't know, 1 million housing units in Acapulco, like all they're looking for is someone they can trust.
Yeah.
You don't have to own the, right? So,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to add that in the spirit of
Yeah,
contribution.
I think that, like you're saying, like there's that baseball mentality where when you're up to bat, this is your shot, and you're going to win or lose, is not really the way to go. It's just a process. You're just constantly doing the process. No matter where you are, you're trying to deliver value to other people. I'm not sure who I was talking to, but they were talking about like seeing value or seeing the opportunity to deliver value to other people, and seeing value in yourself to do that. Once you get those two things really in line, it's really pretty easy. You're just delivering value to people. If you've got something like food, for example, you're selling food that people like, and people like to eat it, you can easily see the value in that, and so it really it's really not that difficult to pull off once you understand that. And that's also something that has to be communicated. If you're working together with the community and you're saying, listen, I really want to deliver this. I know everybody wants it. I'm trying to do it. Well, more than likely, everybody will start trying to help you do it if they want it. So you don't even really need to get to the point that you're investing in capital until you have that kind of understanding. So I don't think it really is that difficult.
Right, and capital, right, is another one of those words whose sense is mostly lost on us because it's capit. Capit is your OODA loop, right? It's your head, right? Invest your head, right? Where's I have no capital. What do you mean? Of course you got capital. I mean, if you've got a head, you've got capital,
Right.
Literally, right? So it's back to your orient,
Observe, orient,
decide,
act.
act, right? Use your head. And, reflecting back even on what you just said right now, like value, it goes back to your first comment. It's about love, right? Am I willing to reach out to you and see if I could love you, right? Because I'm a hairless ape, and what is it that I really want on earth? I want to be around people I can love. I want to eat, I want to be all right, and I want to get some love, right? With my brothers, my sisters, my people. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? So, and any of us can go out and do that. Like when I teach people, I take people on adventures in places to learn languages or even how to engage economically. It's just like, don't try to make money until you figure out who you can love here. Go out and meet people you can love. Keep poking around until, you find that one taco stand where every night you're guaranteed laughs and a bunch of people that want to hang out with you because you're their gringo or whatever the hell you become in their world. And they love you. And as soon as you're that, they don't want you to leave. Who are they going to laugh with that night?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was talking to Kenny the other night, and we had this discussion going on, and it came to capitalism, and Kenny said, "That's why I'm not a capitalist." This idea that money represents kind of an evil. And, honestly, I think what Kenny's doing is he's delivering value first, and showing people that there's value, and basically saying, I don't need money to do this. I can deliver value, and we can work together to do it without having this, need for money, like putting a price on everything. We don't need to do that, I think that's certainly something to think about as well, is that you don't necessarily need to put that money, the need for money out front. You just need to see the value in what you're doing. And I think the money will come, Any other questions?
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
All right. So, since we're all anarchists, right? So in the context of anarchy, like my concern with anarchy is, I think anarchy is great, and we have to like embrace it in a huge context of the human experience, like because we're trying to achieve something. Like anarchy is the rejection of domination, which is nature is organizing itself without domination. So like it's right. It's not even something. The fact that we're in archy is an achievement, right? The fact that we've degenerated from our own natural intelligence is actually the achievement. Anarchy is actually kind of a non-achievement. It's just seeing nature, how nature organizes itself, and then doing that, because we already have a model in nature for how to live well. And so you're talking about money, and for example, Kenny talking about, and I don't know Kenny, but just reflecting back what you said, saying, well, I don't really want money. And what's interesting is we're only using money because we're in this imposed system, which is what empire means, right? Imperare means to impose. And what empires do is they capture people, they bag their ass, they bag their land, they destroy their relationships, and then say, all right, any relationship exchange between your households has to come through us, and then they impose money, right? What happens in that process, and what's obvious to me, is that in that we lose sight of something called wealth, which comes from the Old English weal, which means to be well. It's well-being. Wealth is, the elf is a possessive of weal, which wealth is being well. It's the possession of well-being. Right? And if we look at natural ecosystems, what they're doing is they're wealthy. They're investing in wealth. They're not investing in money, which doesn't mean we can't invest in money, right? Because if we recover our natural mind and become true hunter-gatherers, entrepreneurs, right? We see what's in our ecology, all of it. Then if money's in our ecology, we use it as necessary, but it's not our focus. Our focus is how well can we be? If that requires money, far out, let's do it. Let's develop the skill set and the confidence so that we can be trustworthy to whoever has money, to where they're like, oh, you need money? Here, right? Yeah. Here's money, man. Like whatever you need, because I trust you, and we need you here to be trustworthy to each other.
Right.
But as soon as we identify that wealth is well-being, and we focus on that, because that's the world is hurting for well-being right now, like more than anything. You're talking about Thora and nutrition, or we could be talking about anything, but when we put it back to well-being, what are people really aching for? I mean, just go out with your eyes and your senses and see. They're aching to be well, more than anything. I can tell you, I've lived for years in Mexico since 1987, and I haven't been in Mexico since 2004. Michael and I were hanging out where the cliff divers jump off. Yeah. Okay. So Michael and I were hanging out where the cliff divers, and we were watching, Mexican tourists, because it's mostly Mexican tourism here. And I was appalled at and I pointed out to Michael, I said, Michael, do any of these people look healthy? I remember the first time I crossed into Mexico through Tijuana in 1987. I traveled here in Guatemala for 3 months with $500, and I was going through like heavy barrios in Tijuana, and my first impression of Mexico was just how healthy people looked.
Yeah.
They don't anymore. And it blows my mind what has happened to people's physiques in 13 years. It's like, oh my God. So wealth, you know, if we identify like what is the essence of wealth, wealth is well-being. How can we cultivate our wealth as a community and then spread it out there? Let's be well together. Let's thrive together. Whatever it takes, because it's simple. It's in our design, right? And then build that to where people are like, oh, we want to go hang out with those crazy gabachos, you know, those white folks, because they're well, you know, they're healthy.
Yeah.
We'll have a good time. We'll be well with them.
Yeah, I think, you know, kind of straddling what you're saying, I think I was reading something where they were saying that wealth really represents choices, like having the choice to do different things essentially equals a wealth, a well-being. And I think that's maybe that's an idea that people can think about, is by just giving people choices that they can you know, they can do things that they otherwise couldn't, is a great way to, you know, identify some opportunities.
Sure, yeah. I just want to kind of build on what you guys are saying about confidence, you know, in the baseball model, right? And you get up to bat and all eyes are on you, you know, it's all the pressure is on you, and if you don't hit the ball, it's a big deal. And I think entrepreneurship can feel like that sometimes. Sure. If it's like, okay, I got this idea, but who really cares? Is anyone going to really want what I have? And so there's a fear there of putting myself out and saying, hey, I've got this idea, I've got this service to offer. But I've traveled the last almost 8 years, and most of it has been without doing things for money. And I've been playing in the gift economy, which is like kind of the language of tribes and families. You know, you're connected, and I see you need something. Well, you're my brother. I can just give you something. And so what I was doing was just showing up really generously, connectively in these places, and giving in many ways. And I had a confidence that I just knew I would be taken care of if I ever needed something. So I go to a new place, and I just immediately connect and start. In fact, if I ran out of money, which happened quite a few times, there's a lot of fear, right? What am I going to do? How am I going to survive? What my practice became was start giving, start connecting to local people, and see how I can give to them. And then all my fear just melted away, and I felt connected, I felt related, and you know, but I think that relates to like getting things going here in Mexico and amongst ourselves. Like it doesn't have to be this big venture, right? It can just come through connecting to people and being in service.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great point.
Can I just ask you, does yourself like a little bit your name and what you, however you want to, so just because you had a good chunk of time talking, and so I want to make sure people, if they want to know you, they want to be known.
Sure. Yeah, my name's O, just like the letter or the shape, which is the shape of the beginning of zero, starting from beginnings of everything. And because I've been very advanced in my life, and then I had all my advancement go to shit in a sacred mountain, and the mountain said, you're O. You just start at the beginning, okay, and go back there. So that's who I am. Or, you know, that's the shape I am, just like everything else that's alive. So, and I have a website, deepfreedomnow.com. I've got a newsletter there in Spanish. It's riquezavital.org. And, you know, and I'm a student. I'm a student of life, of beginnings, of wealth, of, you know, I spent time since 1984 traveling with indigenous people, and I really got this sense of the majesty and the magic and the mystery and the fun and the frolic and the genius that is natural to our human being And I'm just a student of that. I've just been on that adventure, as a recovering imperial offspring, yeah, so that's what I'm up to. And I teach people about languages and health and just getting related and, living as if this planet is where you belong, because it is. Maybe some people here are extraterrestrials or something, but I'm just saying, for the terrestrials among us, I love showing people how much fun can be had here. There's fun to be had in a world gone mad.
Yeah, thank you so much. Do you want to introduce yourself then?
Sure.
I'm just going to start asking people to introduce themselves and then give you a question or a thought.
My name's M. The shape. Two-headed mountain. All right, nice. Michael Sky, and I'm. My big thing right now is I'm going back to the States, which I escaped in. I started traveling in 2009, but I really escaped for good in 2010, and I've had this real resistance to going back. But I'm going back to liberate our brothers. I'm literally going back to just connect with guys and help them get free and have certain experiences overseas that once you have those experiences, you almost can't go back and make the same compromises and tolerate the same BS. There's so many guys back there suffering, really, struggling, angry, frustrated, addicted to whatever, because they're not inspired by the invitation of the culture. They don't want a part of it, and I want to go give them an invitation worth, investing in. That's what I'm up to.
Anyone else? Questions?
Trying to quit.
I think that's it. Well, I would say that I just started reading Harry Brown's How to Live Free in an Unfree World. How to Live Free in an Unfree World. That's yeah. I just read the introduction and the prologue. That alone is enough to really inspire. So I'd highly suggest that. You can find it online if you guys want it. I can send you the PDF of it, but it's certainly worthy of reading. And then also Wim Hof. Have you done the Wim Hof breathing techniques?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. We've got some good things coming with that too. I'm gonna see. I just started practicing it here this last week, and wow, big difference.
Do you want to give us shows about?
Everybody want to do the breathing technique?
Sure.
All right.
So, I think we'll pause right here and we'll put it on camera.
Okay, yeah, that's probably good. I don't want to look like a fool. Not on camera anyway. I'll do it for